Hello and welcome to We Will Talk About It, the Supernatural Rewatch podcast where we watch one episode every week, spoiler free. I'm Megan.
I'm Kat.
And this week we are talking about Season 2, Episode 14, Born Under a Bad Sign. So I think before we dive into this episode, we should just give the plot away only because I want to talk about Jared's acting, and I think that if we are going to talk about that, we kind of have to give away the plot. The broad strokes plot is that Sam becomes possessed by the demon Meg and is wreaking havoc. So that's the broad strokes, but I just think I want to talk about his acting and kind of how I see him really. He's clearly studied what Nikki Acox did, and in how his physicality is, and I really want to talk about that. And unfortunately, that happens before the reveal of it being Meg. So I thought, for once, let's just give it away so that we can actually talk about his acting, which I award him all of the kudos for. It's incredible in this episode. Oh yeah,
this is great. This is a great episode. I will also say, not that I'm going to spoil the episode itself, there are some themes that do come across now in today's light, not great.
Yes.
We will get there.
Yes.
This, guys, heads up, this will also be the one time I side with Jo.
Yes.
Because I'm not a big fan of her. Again, if you've not listened, go back, listen to our previous episodes where I do not like Jo. And there was a point in this particular episode, we'll get there, and we'll talk about it, where we do get that reveal. And at that point where he makes a certain comment to Jo, I was like, this is going bad. And it did.
Yes. So before we jump in, we have Catherine Humphries writing this. She wrote Dead Man's Blood at the end of season 1, and she also wrote The Usual Suspects, which we talked about.
Of course.
Like 2 years ago at this point, but episodes was only a couple of episodes ago.
Yeah, because
we're trying, guys.
Yeah.
We're really trying.
The world.
So, yeah, I know. And it's directed by J. Miller Tobin. This is the first episode he directed, and he directed a couple more. I will say I recently started watching what I guess is the like quote unquote official Supernatural podcast with Rob Benedict and Richard Speight Jr., who are two actors who we will meet at some point. Richard Speight Jr. will meet soon.
Oh, that's
so
I need to listen to that podcast.
So they have a podcast. It's called Now and Then, and it's guess like the official podcast because it's by actors and they bring actors in. I've started listening to it, and I listened to the episode for this episode, and they had the director on, and he had some interesting things to say about this episode, and I'll just kind of talk about it as it happens. But basically, he stopped being a director for Supernatural, not because he didn't like it, but because he moved and was like, I have a young family, so flying out to Vancouver every couple of weeks to do an episode. So he's like, basically, I took myself out of the running to be a director on these episodes. And I was like, I've never really thought about how that stuff happens.
Yeah, it makes sense. And why sometimes we have strings of directors and then or producers of particular episodes, and then the script is flipped.
Yeah,
I did see that Kim Manners was floating around.
Yes, he's executive producer. So he's been the executive producer since the start of the series.
Yes,
and he was responsible for shaping a lot of the culture on the set. Because he lived in Vancouver and he was obviously up there for the X-Files, and he sort of knew the world of, creating a show in Canada. So he shaped a lot of kind of the attitude and the perspective and the culture for the set as well. So, yeah. But I like this episode as well because it jumps right into the middle of the action, and then we get flashbacks to sort of, we figure out the story in the same time as the characters do, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, it's not just the standard monster of the week. Here we go, buckle up. Like, this is not monster of the week. This feeds into the overall plot of season 2. If you're watching it for the first time, you don't really see where it clicks in, but once you start getting further into the season, it all starts to make sense.
Yes. And it also is, I think, the first in the next string of episodes where they really start playing with the concept of Supernatural, playing with the writing, playing with the concepts, playing with the characters a little bit more, like,
and not just the standard characters they've been assigned.
Yeah. And so I'm excited. I'm excited for the episodes we have to come, and I'm excited to talk about this episode. But we start the episode with Dean. He's talking on the phone with Ellen. Sam's been gone for a week. He's missing.
The tiniest phone.
He then gets a call from Sam, and Sam's sort of groggy. He's confused.
We see some bandages around his wrist.
And he's covered in blood. And Dean's like, yep, I'll come straight away to this motel. And my note for here says, the hotel is fish themed.
Yes. And I will take a moment because we see it a little bit further in the episode. But this is where I start to go, supernatural prop and scene designers. You fucking nail it.
Yep.
Because it's trout themed.
Yes.
And it's giving me Little Elvis, if you ever watched Little Elvis. It's very that kind of like design with a trout, and then like the balls were like the boys, like red on the top, white on the bottom, and like and like the rods. It was like, this is very fishy, and I love it.
Yes,
it's giving me life.
Jerry Wanek, we love you. Production
also,
designer for.
Do you imagine staying at a hotel
that's fish themed?
That's fish themed, but that was your privacy screen, that was your privacy screen to cut you off from the front door to your bed. It's such a vibe.
It is such a vibe. Sam doesn't remember how he got there. He doesn't remember what he did. The blood isn't his. That's all over him.
Because Dean gets there and he is like basically ripping his shirt off to be like, where is this all coming from? And and Sam is very much like, it's not mine. It's old. And it's like, oh no.
And that's the end of the cold open is this. And I think it's really, like I said, we've sort of done the reveal, like this whole time Sam is possessed, and it's Meg pretending to be Sam.
And it's like Jared playing Meg, disguised as Sam, are being possessed by Meg.
Yeah.
It's like that meme of like the lady with all the math, like
the maths meme.
The maths meme. Like, it's great.
And I will say, and we'll talk about it later. Like, his acting in this episode is so good, and no offense to tiny baby Jared Padalecki, the acting sometimes has come and gone in these early seasons.
Really has some,
but he is 23 years old. I think
he's a baby.
He's a literal baby. I know he's been acting for a long time, but there's a big difference, I think, between Gilmore Girls and
House of Wax.
And House of Wax. And
do not forget House of Wax. I will
never forget House of Wax.
Never forget House of Wax. Sorry, Jared.
Yeah, sorry. We will never let you forget.
Nope.
But yeah, this episode really, I think he really showed what he can do and what he's capable of.
And like, again, we'll talk about it in future seasons. But this is the bar.
Yeah.
And he will continue to push it as he gets older. And I mean, it just comes with experience, like everything you do. The more you do it, the more complex the storyline.
Yep. Exactly.
So
sorry, just the funny of you just being like, Jared, as you know, the more you do something, the better you get at it. It's like with anything in life, Jared Padalecki.
Yeah, here's me. Someone who is just a pleb, just out here giving life advice.
Giving him life advice.
I'm feeling very like Grinch, Ron Howard advice. Here's your motivation. It's like, I'm giving that. So I'm giving is what I'm doing, okay? So you're welcome, Jared Padalecki, who has no idea this podcast exists.
No, thankfully.
I mean, if he did, I'm here for you, dude. Got you. I got your back.
We've got your back, tiny Jared Padalecki.
In the past, I mean, you've seen Bill and Ted.
Mm-hmm.
Can always go back in time.
Right. Wasn't sure we were going with that.
You're like, excuse me, why are we bringing Keanu Reeves into this?
Why are we bringing Keanu Reeves? Not that we shouldn't bring Keanu Reeves into everything we do.
Exactly.
But why are we bringing him into this?
But yes, it is a good episode. It's very... we have to give props, special mentions and honorable mentions to our Lord and Savior, Dean, who is also doing... He's matching pace.
Yes.
It never feels like Jared is obviously doing the most because he's 3 people in one. He's like a conditioner, a shampoo, and like body wash.
Yep.
Dean is also that. Because Dean is matching pace. And it's like the terror in his art. Like like there are moments where they have, we all go back to what Dad told me. What did Dad tell you? And him grappling and he's acting with his face.
Yes.
So yes.
Yes, he's putting his whole pussy into it.
Oh,
they both are.
They both are. I was like, are they both doing that? Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
they're
both putting their whole pussy into it.
They're straight up.
So we sort of go on this little kind of adventure of trying to figuring out... backtracking what Sam did, where he's been for the last week. So they work out he doesn't remember anything from basically when he disappeared.
Yep.
They find this storage unit which has a red Bundy mobile in it, and so they find the bloody knife that seems to be the origin. Yeah, I actually really love that detail.
Dried blood. But it's also when they lift it, the tack sound cat was like, oh no, I need a wet wipe.
And they find a bunch of menthol cigarettes. I
was like, oh, and Dean just being the most like disgusted, like, well, turns out Blackout you really likes a cigarette and it's menthol. It's like,
but he's also very like the whole time like, this isn't you though.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't Sam.
This is not Sam. Sam would not do this because Sam is at the moment, he is like losing his marbles. He is like, I killed someone, Dean. Why are we not grappling that I murdered someone?
Which, yes, or that something's happened to someone because we'll get
we do.
But I think it's really interesting to see it from the perspective of this is Meg trying to make Dean do this.
Yep.
And we'll talk about the fact later in the seasons that this is a huge plot hole.
Yeah.
About why Meg would want Dean to kill Sam.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense because
you can't say why.
We can't say why,
but it doesn't make sense.
It's a filler episode, but a story arc episode, but a gap in reason.
It's a plot hole.
Yeah,
we'll come back to it much later, but it is weird. I don't know, maybe she misunderstood. Maybe somebody misunderstood the instructions.
Yeah, look, it's like when you give instructions to 10 people, one of them is clearly going to fuck up.
Yeah.
And this is one of those.
Sure, why she would do this.
Yeah.
Maybe we do get an answer later on.
And look, it could be that she just likes messing around with Sam because of previous what's happened.
Yeah.
That's what I put this down to because I was like...
It could be just revenge for them sending her to hell.
Because, demons be demons.
Yeah.
Because I had the same thought when near the end of this episode. I was like, hang on. For what I know and remember, very little. This seems like an odd choice.
Yeah.
But then, in future seasons, this is not uncommon to have happened because some things do happen. Not necessarily Meg tried to, but there's conflicting things beyond, in hell that they try and do.
Yes.
With the boys.
Yes.
For whatever reason. So I don't know if it's that. I don't know. Maybe I'm just explaining it away in my brain because I'm like, surely.
Yeah. So we get led back to a petrol station where they discover that Sam has been chugging malt liquor, which doesn't seem like a very Meg thing either, and also chain smoking. And I think all of this is to try and really make Dean be like, this isn't Sam, and really plant that seed.
Yeah.
For this whole thing.
Because he was really shocked about the malt liquor. He's like, malt liquor, didn't pick you for it.
Yeah. And the chain smoking.
He owes 2 packets, apparently.
Which would bankrupt you these days.
Yeah. Yeah, 1 pack of, pack of 20. Whew, hope you have ready like a deposit of a credit card because you're going to need it. It was interesting. And I do love the acting from the convenience / petrol station guy who just like, get that guy out of, like, I'm going to call the cops. And Dean be like, okay. He goes outside. And Sam acting like Sam, being like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm innocent Sam. I'm wee baby Sam. See how cool I am?
Yes.
And
I'm just a baby.
I'm just a baby. No, mate, get the fuck out or I'm going to call the cops. And Dean being a big brother, being like, go outside, step in the car. I need to deal with this guy. And he's like, how about I give you money to pay you for the cigarettes and booze? Because apparently he drank a lot of booze. Got 2 packs of cigarettes. Yeah. But then Dean was like, can you also tell me what happened in your exchange? And we find out that, he was belligerent. He was just coming in here drinking, smoking up like a chimney. Just really not being Sam. Yeah. But like in the like really leaning into the fact he wasn't Sam. So yeah, Dean's spidey senses are tingling.
Oh, yes. And so we keep tracking back, and they find the body of a man, and they find the security system, and it shows Sam stabbing this man.
Yep, slicing his throat.
But
they also realize when when they find the dead body, there's a lot of things around that normal, everyday humans don't generally have in their house, like a hidden cabinet full of weapons. Can you guess who this person particularly was?
Yes.
Hunter.
Or the Unabomber.
Yeah, look, either or.
Which is the second Unabomber reference in Supernatural.
Really
but
is.
He'd been caught some years ago at that point, but still reasonably recently, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose it's like, again, a reference of the time.
Yes. Yeah, and so he killed a hunter who had a daughter, by all accounts. And so Dean is obviously like, we need to
get out of Dodge.
We need to erase like all evidence of you. Like this is crazy. Like we need to go.
Also, when Dean's watching the footage of Sam, quote unquote, killing the hunter, it really gave me like Meg. If Meg could have like formed as Meg as we know her and just be like, come the fuck on, Dan. How much more convincing do you need? Like, come on. I'm working my goddamn ass off here. Yes. Like, it was giving that energy. Because Sam is Sam going, Dean, I did it. Like, look what I've done. I'm a horrible person. I killed a hunter. I never said I'd kill. And again, I would never kill a human. I've just killed a human. Cold blood. No reason. No rhyme, no reason. You should shoot me. You should listen to what Dad said and straight up murder my ass too.
Yeah, and so I think it is really, like, obviously, again, this episode is meant to be watched originally without the reveal.
Yeah.
But you do get to watch it with the reveal and watch how Meg is manipulating Dean.
She's playing the puppeteer.
And so they go back to the fish motel.
So good.
And they have this conversation where Sam is like, I've been feeling these feelings all this time and anger, which obviously is a lie. We figure out in retrospect. Feeling anger and I can't make it go away and like I don't want to hurt you, I don't want to hurt anyone, and he's trying to quote unquote Meg is trying to talk him into killing him as his dad instructed.
Yep.
Dean eventually, you can see him grappling with it. You're watching it, and then he's like, I can't do it. I won't do it.
And I think at that point he knows that this is not Sam, and that's the reason why he says it, because as much as he would still grapple with the choice of killing his brother, if he had to, it would be said, like, I don't know. I feel like he would know if that was Sam physically telling him. I think I think he knew there was something not right. He just couldn't put his finger on it.
Yep.
Hence why he said it. And the way he says it is like, nope, I can't do it.
Yeah, no, I'd rather die.
Yeah.
And so Sam knocks him out.
Blocks him in the face.
Clocks him in the face.
Real hard.
Which is really bad for you, as we learned in Archer.
Not great. And the fact that he didn't have a bruise, like, I was like, mate, what are you made of, steel? My
note from this where he's like falling to ground is like, no, I'm sad that Dean stops wearing jewelry. Because we're watching the jewelry slowly disappear in this season, and I am going to miss it when he's only wearing one piece of jewelry. But because I like a man who wears some jewelry. Yeah. Like, not like pimp rings and stuff or pimp necklaces, but like I do like a bit of jewelry on a man.
Yeah, he's not wearing his rings anymore.
No, he's only got one ring left at this stage.
And he's and the necklace. The way he thuds to the ground, we get the cut of obviously where an ad would have been, and we get back and we get pounding on the hotel door. And Dean basically just like, oh, what just happened? Like almost vibing of like hangover, like waking up going, oh my God, a thumping headache, all this kind of stuff. Gets to the door. And we got the hotel manager being like, it's 12:30. You check out. You missed your checkout. I'm going to have to charge you. I need you to get out of this room because I have people. And the pan to the escort and the John, she was wearing the most bright, like, shitty material dress I think I've ever seen in my life. And that hair, fox eye.
Yes.
And I love Dean.
Visual storytelling.
Oh, yeah. And Dean being like, of course they do. Course they need this room. And then just Dean, which I found really, really odd, and I can see why the hotel manager was like, why would I do this for you? He's like, I need to use your computer. And it's just like, I know you've been clocked in the face, mate. But
yes. And then he sort of comes to his senses and sensibly bribes the hotel owner.
And he's just like, I don't care. I'll take your money.
Yeah. And they
love this. Love this.
Has
scene.
An elaborate performance.
It's a great performance. Oh, my son, he's diabetic. Oh, he's run away. He's gone to go see Justin Timberlake, which I was like, oh, you could have chosen like Red Hot Chili Peppers. You could have chosen anything, but you went, nah, fuck you, Sam. I'm going to have fun with this.
Yeah.
And then talking to the person on the phone, I'm guessing from the mobile company to get like a general location of where Sam is. And he's like, yes, Justin, he truly is the triple threat. Yeah. I had to pause and laugh so hard because this is at the time where Justin had just left NSYNC and was in the process of releasing his first solo album. So I had to laugh real hard because of what we know now.
Yes.
It just made me. It just got me. I don't know why. I think it was just also the deadpan, like not into the camera, but just like side eyeing the camera, of like, yes, Justin really is triple. It was great. It made me laugh.
It's a really quick light scene in this episode
because it does get darker
almost immediately. And he finds out they're in Duluth, Minnesota.
Yep.
And so obviously we now cut to surprise Joe.
Yeah, and also we must say Dean doesn't have the Impala. Because we find out from the hotel clock, like, yeah, your friend left. He left before dawn. He took your car. So we find out, obviously, that Dean is now making his way downtown to Minnesota.
Or uptown.
Who can say?
Not us.
Not us in Australia.
Definitely not us.
Yeah.
So Joe is back in this episode. This episode does technically mark the end of any attempts to make Joe a love interest for Dean. They do wrap that. Take this time to also wrap that storyline up.
Yeah, they really pop the pimple. They let it go. I'm sorry. They really they wrap this up in a bow that's not the greatest.
They wrap it up pretty well. I think the way that they wrap it up, we'll talk about it. It wraps up very well, I think, in terms of being like, we are not going to pursue this further, guys.
Yeah, this is not a path we no longer wish to forward.
But in terms of, so like I said, I listened to the Then and Now podcast, and they had the director on to talk about the scene that we've hit, which is that Demon Sam, Meg Sam, Sam Meg, goes to Minnesota, finds Joe, and at first is just trying to kind of manipulate her, maybe flirt with her a bit. He does a lot of work of being like, oh, you're really carrying that flame for Dean, aren't you?
Oh,
like,
it's real gross.
Come on, he doesn't see you as anything other than a little sister. Like, it's so manipulative.
Little schoolgirl. When he said that, I was like,
this whole scene
is gross.
Like I said, Jared is absolutely pussy into it. It's so gross. It's so disturbing.
So is Joe, and I hate to say it.
Yeah.
It's just like She knew, like she knew he wasn't right. She knew he wasn't Sam. She knew, but she couldn't say, because we get the reveal in it very shortly. Her realizing what actually had happened. Yeah, it's gross because he comes in and he just really plays into her a bit, and almost in a tormenting way as well.
Yeah.
Like really, he's like, "Oh, I'm going to find your hurt. Oh, you know what your hurt is? That flame you have for Dean that he doesn't return." It was mean, but it was also really.
Yeah, it was mean. It was really calculated. It's very manipulative. The line that's like really the like knife twisting is like he says, I'm not trying to hurt you, Joe. I'm just telling you because I care, which is so classic manipulation.
It's gaslighting.
It's so yeah. And then he attacks her.
And also the way he looks at her is very much you're creeped out because Sam is looking at her like a piece of meat.
Yeah.
It's gross.
It's gross. And I have to give Jared a bazillion acting points
both
because
of them. They fed off each other's energy because then Sam attacks her and because I saw Joe and I messaged Meghann and I was like, oh, that's right, Joe's back. The insufferable.
God damn it.
And I've sent her a gif of like, not interested. Immediately after that, I've gone, oh no, rapey vibes.
Yes.
Yeah, I said it, guys. Sorry, we will put a disclaimer in it. Yeah, it gives off like watching it the first time. It just seemed like he was attacking her, but looking at it now, no,
it's very assaulting. I don't think he assaults her.
No, he doesn't.
But it's just the energy.
Energy is very palpable.
I have some questions. I have a question that I asked multiple times in my notes, which is, do demons have genders?
Good question.
Do demons have genders?
Because we just know them as meat suit.
Well, no, that's what they call people wearing demons.
That's what I mean.
But like do they identify
as that meat suits?
Because later on, Meg says, "Oh, I was Meg, but now I'm Sam."
Yeah.
And what? Yeah, do demons in terms of also like because Meg in season 1 was very like into Sam,
very into Sam, not physically embody Sam,
no,
but like. Attracted to Sam.
Very attracted to Sam. And this kind of felt very sexual as well in I mean, that was a bad way as well, but like in a different bad way.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, cool. So is Meg bisexual? Are demons bisexual? Are demons pansexual? What do demons have genders? I asked that myself a couple of times.
Yeah, no, that's like,
how do they self-identify? What pronouns should we be using?
Because we don't see a demon in its real form. We don't see them as
I don't
smoke
think we ever
or in meat suits.
Yes.
So are we saying like they're their own being, and when they take a meat suit, they do what the fuck they want to their meat suit? As we know, they destroy. They treat it like trash, like it's a schoolies weekend, like treating it like trash,
like it's a hotel on the Gold Coast.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. Like it's interesting that you say that because we don't know. Because like even I can't say the reveal. Never mind. I'll lose that thought. But yeah, it's you say that now. Now I'm also questioning it because it's like, do they identify as their meat suits, whatever they felt like? But I also don't feel like that's also the answer because I feel like Meg definitely does what she wants. But is she a she? I don't know. Are they? I don't know. I feel like they're non-binary until they enter into a meat suit. I assume.
I don't know. I don't know if Supernatural ever answers this question. I don't know if it ever asked itself this question.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably keep referring to the demon by their primary meat suit.
Yeah.
Their meat suit of choice.
Or their name that they prefer.
Without giving away too much, I think we can fairly safely describe Meg as a she.
Yeah.
But we'll revisit this question more broadly as we go on because I do have questions.
Meg, the demon, really like playing in Sam's suit.
Playing is the operative word here.
Yeah.
Gross. But Jared, this is why I wanted to do the reveal at the start because he's clearly watched Nikki's physicality as Meg.
The
looks and just some of the language and some of the intonation.
The turn of the like lips and the smiles.
So he's clearly trying to emulate some of that in his performance.
And he does.
And it's a great job. And that's why I kind of wanted to do the reveal before we talked about it because I really wanted to talk about like that. Obviously rewatching this, knowing the reveal, I was like getting a lot of Nikki in Jared's performance.
Oh, definitely. And we, Sam ties Joe up, gets real to that knife twisting. She's already hurt, but he's kicking her and stabbing her on the way down by revealing that her dad, while Aunt John and her dad, Joe's dad was injured. His guts was spilling out. And their dad, John, put him out of his misery, even though her dad was calling out their names of Ellen and Joe and kills him. And I mean, the look on her face was... Oh, she did the performance. But just the way he was getting close to her face and just really playing into it because you could almost see Nikki in this scene.
Yeah.
Like, insane. And then we get Dean come in. Thank God. Just buckle up, buckaroos. Like, just, like, hey, Sam, get on. Throws, and then you see the flicker of, I'm going to change from Sam to Nikki. And it's the eyes and the intensity and holding that energy. Oh, it was great.
I do want to talk a little bit more about this scene as well because listening to the podcast, listening to the Then and Now podcast and listening to the director talk about this scene, he made some really good points about the fact that this was filmed, I think, 2007, 2006. And so this was long before Me Too, long before intimacy coordinators, which are very common on set. And he sort of said that like these days, a scene like this, which is very intimate, it's very personal.
And very deep.
It's very like they would probably have an intimacy coordinator to talk about things to kind of block it out like it was a stunt and really kind of give everyone a chance to practice in the character, which I hadn't really thought about from that perspective, but is actually a really good point. And he was sort of saying that like the reason it still kind of isn't too upsetting to talk about and probably isn't like by the actors is that they knew each other really well. There are definitely photos on Tumblr of them out partying in Vancouver in the early 2000s. Because they're all the same age and they were, put in like they had to fly to Vancouver to film and they were probably there for a few weeks and
and they probably knew this was coming as well.
Yeah, and Jared's obviously quite a considerate person.
Yeah.
And so although it's not the norm, that sort of familiarity allowed them to approach it as a team
as
because
a very
it
raw
could potentially be a scene that would be very upsetting in
and
retrospect
traumatizing
in retrospect to have just done cold. And I just thought that was a really interesting perspective and not something I'd necessarily thought of. But
Same.
we both kind of said, like, when I first watched this scene in 2007, I guess, I really did not see it the way I see it now. Like, I don't even remember it being a blip on my radar. I think the bit that I remember is more later when they reveal that it's Meg and, like, he'd been possessed the whole time. And I was like, oh, that's a really cool plot. But, like, the fact that whole really kind of sexualized assault scene followed by like a psychological torture scene happen, I didn't register, which probably says something about, you know, violence against women in film in this era that I didn't really take it with the gravitas that I do now.
And I think now even more so because we talk about it more. That's the thing. I think now that and don't get me wrong, am I saying the problem is solved? Absolutely not. We're just more aware of it. We're more in tune with it. We're more there's more education about it. There's more this is more talking.
Yeah.
And therefore leads to more education, leads to more open dialogue about things that definitely do happen. Not the whole possessing thing of demons. But like just the violence against women or just violence against other minority groups.
Yeah, and how it's portrayed on film. You know, they sort of even say in the episode that like there's a lot of female characters in Supernatural, and so to have this to happen to one of them. And unfortunately, this is not the last time we'll talk about the women in Supernatural being used as plot points to further the plots of men.
Yeah, this one definitely, as we all know.
But this one definitely is one of those. Yeah. And I think it's interesting because we say this a few times, like I don't see, like it's not intentional on the part of the writers. Like it's not intentionally misogynistic.
It's just the way that was the style of writing for these shows in that period.
Yeah, it was unfortunately just the norm. And I'm not saying that that's good, obviously, but like just the fact that my brain, it wasn't until recently rewatching this that I was like, oh no. And I think the actors are taking it that seriously. I just think my immature brain as an 18-year-old.
You glazed.
Just didn't see it the way that I see it now.
No, when I watched this, I want to say I watched it in 2013, maybe 14. I watched this, and by that stage, I was like past mid-20s. I just saw it as a really gross scene, but not in the way that when I watched it, I was like, this is giving some red flag energy as an assault energy, and it's not great. Whereas when I watched it a decade ago, it was giving that energy of, oh, this is just, it's clearly a demon. This is obviously just, it was still negative, but it wasn't the actual energy that came across. So, it's a heavy scene. And again, we also, I know we have listeners that understand you can't apply today's lens on something that was created. Like, you're going to find faults. And this is, we acknowledge that. Yeah. We have to, because it was of a time where you said it was written not to be misogynistic. Women against women, but it comes across that way because that was just how shows were written. Yeah. If Supernatural was filmed today, that wouldn't happen. Well, I mean, it would happen.
It would happen. It would be very different, and I think it would be approached very differently.
And there would be warnings. There would be a disclaimer before the episode aired. Like,
I don't think necessarily there would be that. Like, that seems a little extreme. It's not like they do that before Game of Thrones or anything like that. True. But I think it would just be approached differently. Yeah. And it would have a bit more consideration for the female characters' autonomy.
So
Dean comes in.
Yep.
Sam or Meg immediately switches to being Sam, being like, I can't stop myself. I'm going to do it. I'm going to kill her. You've got to stop me. So he's immediately flipping back to the manipulation of Dean. And Dean sort of turns away and like turns back and gets him with holy water and is like, you demonic son of a bitch. Like,
I knew it.
Yeah. And they have this like kind of big fight chase through a warehouse. And then we think Dean gets shot. And Sam, Meg Sam thinks, Sam.
Oh, never say Smeg.
Smeg?
No.
Never, like, thinks he's dead, basically.
Yeah. Basically looks over the pier because they run through. Joe's been freed because Dean does that before he runs after Sam. Unties her, doesn't really say anything to her, and then just leaves. And then Joe is trying to call, like, we see Sam shoot Dean, thinking, he's fallen into the water, he's dead. Goes off. Then we see Joe run through calling on her flippy phone
Mm-hmm.
to trying to find Dean.
Yep.
Dean's magically dragged himself up, shot in the shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
and then we get the scene of where she's giving him first aid. And true to Joe's character, where Kat decided to stop giving her sympathy, she calls Dean a baby. Like, oh, you're being such a baby. And it's like, he got shot. Bitch, if I shot you on the shoulder, you wouldn't be laughing. Also, can we go back to where you were nearly imprisoned in a hotel and you basically nearly had a breakdown, which fair. But secondly, no one called you a baby. So let's read the room. Joe, really don't like her. I was on her side for this episode, and then when she started giving Dean the first aid, I was like, God, I fucking hate you. God, I'm so glad that you leave soon. God, I really hate you. It just, that moment, and again, it's the writing. Again, I'm acknowledging the writing. It's not the actress or anything like that. It's the writing of her character to be this petulant kind of huffy teenager, like late teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And that was not the vibe intended, but they made it anyway, and hence why they wrapped this package up of Dean will never find her attractive in that way.
No.
Good. And scene. I'm just sorry. It's just that line of just like, oh, you're acting like such a baby. I'm like, bitch, you fucking flipped your tits when you nearly got backled on the wall. Calm it down. Your standards. Yeah, I really don't like Joe.
I don't know that I can compare getting shot in the shoulder with nearly getting imprisoned by H.H. Holmes and murdered. I think that she was maybe a little more justified in the drama.
Yeah, but no one called her a baby. No one said, oh, you're acting like a child or you're acting like a baby. She's come out here. He's just been shot by his brother/demon brother. And she's just out here like he just tripped up a stair. It's like, bitch, I get a gun and shoot you in the same spot. Let's see how you handle the pain threshold here, eh? Like, Dean's not even crying. He's just like wincing. He's literally wincing.
So yeah, so she's patching Dean up. Dean's very like, cool, like, let's move this along. I've got to go because Sam has revealed that the plan is to find and kill all of the hunters.
Yes.
And she was hoping that Dean would kill Sam so she could just take over this dead body, basically like a zombie, and run free and wild murdering hunters. Which again, like I said, guys, is a plot hole, but we will get there. Joe sort of asked Dean if demons ever lie. If demons ever tell the truth, because she's like, I know they lie, but do they ever tell the truth? And he's like, yeah, if they think it's going to hurt the person, implying that this story that Meg told her might have been the truth
about her dad and potentially Dean not holding a flame for her.
Yes,
twofold.
Yes, very much so, because Meg obviously would have access to Sam's memories and knowledge as well.
Yeah, and also just having that demon sense.
And, she tries to say, look, let's go. We're going to go, find this hunter that because he's like the nearest one's in South Dakota. And Dean's like, no, and I'm not taking you, and I will tie you back up if you try and come. This is my fight. I'm not getting your blood on my hands. Mm-mm. Like, nope, not happening. He leaves and he says, and this is for me where I'm like, I really appreciate how they've rolled this up, how they wrap this up, which is that he leaves and he says, I'll call you later, and you see the door slam, and then she said, no, you won't. And that's it. That wraps that whole storyline up. And I think the way they wrap it up is really good, with her just being like, it doesn't leave it hanging of like, who knows what will happen, nothing. It's like her coming to that realization of, because he's very like, throughout this whole scene is very kind of short with her and very like, cool, can I go now? Like, he's not interested in helping her feelings be sorted. So she kind of has to get to that resolution herself. Mm-hmm.
But I do love this next bit because I was like, yay!
Yeah, my note literally is, yay, Bobby!
I was like, Bobby's back. So what happens is we get a knock on the door. Mm-hmm. We don't know who behind the door is. And we see it's our fave, our Lord and Savior, Bobby.
You have lots of Lords and Saviors.
I do. I'm not bound by just one. So our Lord and Savior, Bobbeth, is there, and Sam's at the door.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam is obviously talking to Bobby, and Bobby is just like, yeah, come on in. And Bobby just, love Bobby. Because again, Lord and Savior. So he gets 2 beers,
and
gives one to Sam, and he has one, and he's drinking it, they toast. And then Sam drinks the beer.
Mm-hmm.
And there was holy water in it.
Yeah.
And it burned a lot.
Yes. And, Bobby's no fool. You can't pull the wool over Bobby's eyes.
No.
You can't play a player. which is not what he says. He says you can't con a con man.
That's right. Yeah, it was great. But it's so good. And it's just.
And also, I feel like this time Meg does not act enough like Sam.
Yeah.
Like when he's just like, oh, hold up, Dean's hold up somewhere with a girl and a 12-pack. Like that's not really
how
Sam.
Yeah, because Sam is very much like, oh, Dean's just being. He would have said it in a way that didn't imply that he's banging some girl in a room with a
Yeah,
six-pack.
He wouldn't have been as like, oh, about it. Like
very nonchalant about it. He would have been very like, Dean is on a hunt of a different kind. Like he would have been very clever about it.
Yeah, and he would have, I don't know, there just wasn't a lot of kind of
it was quite
passion
for Sam. So, again, Bobby's known them since they were children. So he knows.
He's got this. And so obviously Dean this is the hunter in South Dakota that Dean has referenced. And so Dean has obviously booked it to get there.
Yeah, and he's there.
He's there. Meg Sam is now tied up in the same devil's trap that we saw in season 1.
Where Meg was.
Mm-hmm. And they are trying to exercise Meg again.
Mm-hmm.
And this time it doesn't work because Meg has branded, something we saw earlier with Joe is that Meg has branded Sam with a like demonic lock basically that means that they can't exercise her.
No.
Which is interesting. And so I
did say, like in my brain, when I did see the seal or the lock that keeps her bound to Sam and, she can't be exercised out.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, why don't all demons then just do that?
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, that was the other plot hole I had was like, okay, there's a seal that you can put on your meat suit that you enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it depends on what kind of demon and what kind of havoc they're after.
Mm-hmm.
But Meg is obviously here for a long time. So she's wanting to make some ripples.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't she have just done that with the Meg from season 1's like meat suit? It makes like no sense.
Yeah, I mean, yes, correct. I think because maybe Meg didn't expect to be exercised and now she's taking measures to prevent it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, more so like it. Yeah, probably right. Yeah,
I would say that's
so what ends up happening is
Mm-hmm.
Bobby's reading now out of the Bible, trying to exercise Meg out.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out doesn't happen,
Mm-hmm.
but then she starts getting a bit testy
Mm-hmm.
and then just starts shaking Bobby's house.
Mm-hmm.
And at the top of the house on the roof is a devil's trap.
Mm-hmm.
She breaks it. She snaps it. She's like, oh. I do love her, she, like her being Sam Meg or Meg Sam, just like cracks her neck and looks up and goes, that's better. And I'm like, Dean. Oh, no, sorry, Sam.
Dean.
Dean. Janet.
Rocker.
It was not that.
It was not that.
It was not that. Would be fucking here for it though. So yeah, I was like, oh, this acting is so good because it's just so sassy and so it leans more feminine.
Yes.
Leans well like,
and this is why I'm like, do demons have genders?
Yeah, it was
because like not to broad strokes femininity or masculinity or the gender binary, but like Sam is fairly masculine.
Yes,
and this character is presenting more female or feminine traits.
Yeah,
and that's why I'm like, for real though, do demons have genders?
Yeah, because like when the devil's trap gets cracked on the roof and it's obviously breaks the seal, devil's trap. It was just like the shake of the body and like the crack and the tilt of the head, and then Meg Sam looking and being like, "That's better." And I'm like,
but also again, props to Jared.
Oh yeah,
20,000 props to Jared because
and it's
the physicality. It's
not draggy.
Yep,
and it's not mocking.
No.
None of those things. Not that drag mocks.
No,
gender,
definitely not.
But it's not. It doesn't come across of draggy of like I'm pretending to be a girl. No.
It
doesn't mock being a girl. No. It just
embodies
that vibe that we get from Meg from season 1, where she uses her meat suit's charm, pretty. The package is pretty, so it's almost like the Mae West, very Mae Westy, like. How about you come up and fuck me in the ass sometime?
Yeah.
Like that kind of vibe.
A line Mae West, to be clear,
never said. Oh, no. I am, again, referring to a drag reference. But it's very that Mae Westy kind of like.
Not as like at 11, but definitely embodying sexuality.
That kind of sexuality.
And they sort of have this fight, and Meg is saying that like the thing that kept her going, she's like, people say it's like hell because hell is like hell. Yeah. It's made of fear and blood and bones. And all I could think was one day I'm going to crawl out and murder you.
Yeah. And then luckily, because they're like, and she tells them, like, you're not getting rid of me so easily. I'm locked in, Sam.
Yeah.
Good luck. And Dean doing the most. This part made me cringe.
Yes.
Where he gets a hot poker from the fireplace, grabs Sam Meg's wrist, breaks the seal because the seal on Sam's arm is burnt. Like he's been branded.
Yes.
And then he puts the hot poker, the really hot poker on the thing. CGI swarm. Yes. But not CGI swarm.
But it is getting better every time.
Better CGI swarm.
Yes. And then Dean socks Sam in the face.
Yeah.
Which I think is fair because, Sam, quote unquote, has just been like wailed on by him. So
I love the next scene because it cuts, obviously, for the ad. That's not there anymore. And I love that Sam turns to Dean and is like, man, you look like shit. Like you look like, I think he says, I think you look like crap. And
yeah, they definitely didn't say shit.
They didn't say shit because CW. But it's like, man, you look like crap. And Dean just thought was side-eye, like, over his shoulder, like, so do you. Like, mate, guess who had a demon in them?
Yeah.
Raise your hand. Yes.
And then Bobby comes in and is like, I've heard my hunter Steve Wardell friend because Wardell has been killed. And Dean's like, never heard of him. Don't know what you're talking about.
No, sir. Know nothing about it.
And just Bobby just clocking it straight away like, And we're going to keep it that way.
We're going to keep it that way because his friends are out for blood.
Yes. And they're back on the road again. Bobby has given them little charms to protect them from being possessed.
Yes, I love this. And we will find out in future what those also turn into.
Yes. This is I'm just pointing them out because commencement of a plot point. And he does say it'll stop them from getting back up in you.
Yeah, which is such a phrase.
And Dean does say that's a bit dirty.
And that was basically the end of the episode.
So, Sam's obviously grappling. He's like, I was awake for a lot of it. Like, I actually remember murdering Steve. Like, I can feel that. Like, I remember what I was doing to Joe, but you never tried to kill me. And he's like, well, it wasn't you. And he's like, yeah, but well, what about next time, And Dean's like, well, Dad said if I couldn't save you, I would have to kill you. So if it's the last thing I do, I'm going to save you.
Yeah.
And just put a fucking pin in that sentence on repeat. Next 15 seasons.
Yeah, I was going to say, for the next until the end of time.
Just that motto.
Yeah, just that, just like the opener when we see the recapping of the show, the family business, hunting things and saving people.
Mostly each other.
Yeah.
And it ends with Dean
always
saying...
and forever, Alyssa Edwards. Yeah. Like, fuck.
And the episode ends with Dean saying you, like, full on had a girl inside of you for a whole week. It's pretty naughty.
Yeah. And then...
Which means Dean obviously sees Meg as a girl.
Yeah.
So, like I said, until we're told otherwise, I think refer to them by their primary meat suit gender. And we'll talk about the sexuality of the various demons we come across. Well... Thank you so much for listening, guys.
Yeah.
Sorry that it's been so inconsistent.
Been a vibe of just trying to work out things.
Trying to work out how to do this with a small human person that I'm now in charge of. But we're getting there. We're working it out. We're doing our darndest. And thank you for sticking with us if you are still sticking with us. Yeah. And if you've just come across us, sorry that the schedule's all over the shop. Hopefully by the time we get to this episode...
We'll be back on a regular program.
We'll be back to our regular weekly scheduling. But either way, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Tumblr. Some version of We Will Talk About It on all three of those. You can email us. Do you have a spooky story?
Yeah.
A spooky supernatural tale that's happened to you? Email us at wewilltalkaboutitpod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear it. And if we get enough, we'll do a mini episode and talk about it.
Yeah. No supernatural, but it will be supernatural.
It will be. And if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, on iTunes, if you could rate and leave us a review, that would be wonderful and very kind. We really appreciate it.
Don't forget to tell a friend, a friend, work friend, family member. We understand Christmas is gone. Like, we're already in February.
We're already in February. God knows when this episode will come out.
Oh, gosh.
Maybe Easter. Who knows?
Who knows? But, just recommend us. Like, if you're having a good time, share the love.
Share the love. We really...
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day is around the corner. That's not when this episode's coming out.
Yeah, but
it's when it's recorded.
This is going to be so dated for this reference, but you guys are going to get a good laugh out of it. You're welcome.
Tell a lover, tell a sweetheart.
A lover.
That you're listening to this podcast and that it's worth it. But in the meantime,
stay safe And always remember, you can never con a con man.
Bye, guys.
Bye.